Shalom. We are in Torah portion Teruma. That means gifts. Now the context of this Torah portion is the people's contribution through providing gifts to provide the materials, specifically the more pricey materials like the gems, the gold, the silver, for the construction of the tabernacle. Now this is basically when Israel left Egypt. They received gifts from the Egyptians, and that basically indirectly is the payment for all the years of their hard work. And now Yahweh is accepting that and asking for gifts for the construction of his house, the tabernacle, the portable house that represents the household from where the priestly function will be facilitated amongst the nations. Now when you look at the word teruma, it is a 5-letter word that starts with the letter Taf on the right, ends with the letter Hey on the left, and then it's got the word Rum, Resh, Vav, Mem in the middle, with the letter Vav in the center. And we've seen this before. Whenever there's the Vav in the center, you know it is something that is done for the benefit of man or humanity. So that's the goal and the central focus of the purpose of this tabernacle, is to benefit us. When you look at the left, the letter Hey, it's similar to the letter Taf, which is a doorway or an entry point. Letter Hey means light and truth. That is the light that shines into the dark world, that attracts people who are looking for light, and they can enter in. On the right hand is the letter Tav, which is also a doorway, and this one is associated with a yoke, carrying a yoke, and that is the entry into this house, and then carrying the yoke of your newly appointed function or role as the priesthood within the larger context of the kingdom of priests, which we looked at last week. And that is the yoke where the oxen plow the ground, prepare the ground for the seed to be sown, and then for the harvest. And the harvest is always about the Moedim, the festivals, the 3 harvests, the barley, the wheat, and the fruit harvest, which are the 3 main pilgrim festivals within the 7 Moedim, which relates to the cycles of elevation, the work of Mashiach that elevate or restore humanity back unto Yahweh. Now in saying that, the word gift from a sacrificial system point of view is basically an offering, something you offer. And the purpose of that offering is the word korban. It means to draw near. So now we make the point or the connection that the tabernacle that is constructed by gifts or with gifts are there to provide offerings or gifts so that man can draw near. So that is where you bring gifts to construct the tabernacle. Then you bring gifts within the sacrificial system that can only be facilitated in the presence of a tabernacle and a priesthood. And then ultimately to receive the benefit of these gifts, which are the sacrifices to help with the covering of the fallen state of man until they are fully restored. Now in the center is the word Rum, Resh, Vav, Mem. And that means to elevate and to exalt. And that is exactly what the tabernacle is. It is similar to the cycles of 7, the Moedim, the Sabbath. And when you engage with that, it elevates you. It's upward thrust, turning force like a tornado. And this building, this tabernacle, this construction simulate the process of elevation from another point of view, we're all within another medium. And this medium is symbolic of the body of Messiah, or the household of Elohim, which consists of people. Now we are going to look at all the symbolism of every single part within this tabernacle, of which this Torah portion is very detailed, and it's got a lot. But I'm going to go back to the basics. I'm just going to lay the basic foundation, and then next year we can build on it again. Last year I had a lot of detail in there. We looked at the pattern and the sequence of construction, and things that I mentioned first are more important than others. I'm not going to do that this year. I just want to do the basic layout and understanding of each of the objects, how it relates to us, how it will benefit us, and what the purpose of this tabernacle is in relation to the physical, which was a mobile tent traveling through the wilderness, as well as the spiritual, which is a picture of the body of Messiah that is traveling through this life, which we briefly touched on last week when we looked at the bondwoman, which is the collective, the body of Messiah, which received grace because of her status as a bondwoman. She can now receive grace from Yahweh, even though she's imperfect and in a fallen state. Alright, so room is also associated with other words, which we are going to look at in detail, but some of them are warriors of Yahweh. Now we are going to touch on this later on when we step out from the tabernacle into facing the enemies within the wilderness. And then the priesthood, or the bride, is seen from another perspective, which is the army of Yahweh, the people who do battle. And they are the commanders and the leaders of the army, and then the people, together with their leadership, can defeat the enemy. And that's why leadership within the kingdom of Yahweh is so crucial and so important, but it's also the place of where the enemy can infiltrate and only influence one man or one woman within leadership, and then the whole congregation will go astray. And that is why it's so important for leaders to make sure they study the word, they understand the word, and they steer away from doctrines and traditions. I know there's a lot of people who start off with their walk becoming messianic. They love the symbolism of our Jewish brothers, but they are only traditions. The majority of them are only traditions. Yes, they are beautiful. They're part of their culture. But you should ask yourself the question, is it part of Yahweh's culture? If it's not in the Torah, it is added, and we need to be careful not to engage with those things and love those things so much that we compromise Yahweh's word, because the pitfall is that you can move and become Jewish and convert to Judaism, and that is something that happens all over the place. Specifically, people who go to Israel, there are some of our Jewish brothers who are aimed at converting Messianics into Judaism, and that is their main function. So be careful in engaging in their traditions and steer clear from that, so that we can keep Yahweh's word pure. So I'll leave you with those few thoughts. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you soon. Shalom.